Greetings, geeks. Welcome to episode 783 of Geeks in Space. I'm Rob Commander Taco and I am once again joined in pretend low Earth orbit by a pair of the greatest geeks you're ever going to meet. We have Rob Roseboom.
Hello.
And Chris DeBona.
Hi.
Gentlemen, happy Friday. TGIF.
Yeah.
Looks like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
Can I tell you a story about the restaurant chain, TGIF?
Sure.
I don't know if I ever told you this before. When I was still working at the place I used to work, Google, I flew to Israel. And on the way back, it turns out Carlson Wagonlit Travel had screwed up my ticket. So I had to buy a new ticket there at Tel Aviv, Ben Gurion Airport, which is a little weird if you know Israel. So bought the ticket, flew home, called up the travel agency for my former employer, and they're like, "Oh, we're really sorry. We're going to send you a check." And I'm like, "Cool, thanks." So 3 weeks later, I get a check in the mail, and it's from TGI Fridays.
Oh.
Because for some reason, TGI Fridays and Carlson had merged like years ago, and so TGI Fridays was handling the travel for a zillion of the Fortune 500. And so I got this check from TGI Fridays. I'm like, and I used to deliver food before there was DoorDash, before there was Uber Eats. I delivered food for Takeout Taxi, call sign Speedy, because they thought I was on cocaine. But I was like, why would you? Anyway, so I mean,
the cocaine was a hint.
It was weird, but you needed a call sign because you couldn't use your real name on the radio. We were using CB radios. Anyway, but I would go to TGI Fridays there in Tyson's Corner all the time to pick up food for people. So I'm like, this is weird full circle TGI Fridays in my work history. So there you go.
Your CV goes back a long ways, Chris.
Yeah, it's basically it's an infinite loop, you know.
That's right.
So.
See, Rob's CV goes back to blueberries, and mine goes back to groceries.
Yeah.
Like picking blueberries or working?
No.
At the restaurant?
I worked for a racist farmer, and I was a white kid, so I got to drive. So I got to drive the machinery while people 3 times my elder actually did most of the heavy labor.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
But wasn't that the dude that let you drive a car like when you were 13?
Yeah, I
Nice.
drove his Silverado down to the sporting goods store so I could buy shotgun shells to shoot birds, because that was my job.
Nice.
When you were 13.
When I was 13, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Things are different in the country.
You actually drove to the complex where I worked.
Yes, I drove to that one. I can't remember. What was the name of that hardware store there?
Was it Coast to Coast?
Coast to Coast, yep.
Yeah.
That's
right. Coast to Coast Hardware, sure.
Yeah,
That's still in business. You know?
That's where I went to buy shotgun shells at 13, getting out of a Silverado. That was
Can I
all
ask you a
fine.
question?
Things were different back in 1990.
Clearly, but so what? I thought you had to handle blueberries really gently. So what machinery would you use?
Oh, see. Rob and I grew up in Holland.
And how do you shoot blueberries?
Where
Where
you get stuck behind blueberry pickers in
A
the
lot.
summer constantly, because I would say probably half the agriculture between maybe Grand Haven and South Haven is blueberries, just because of the way the climate is.
Wow.
So blueberry picker looks like literally like a giant shed that you drive over the bushes with, and it has these finger beaters that shake the bush, and on the sides there's conveyor belts that capture the blueberries and blow out the sticks and leaves, but also all of the wildlife that gets caught. There's tons. There's birds flying out of that thing all the time, squirrels, chipmunks. It is a mess.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was the starting. He didn't let me drive till I was 12, so I was the 12-year-old driving everyone, making sure everyone was safe. You know.
I got to tell you, I have in my house right now a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old, and there's no way I'm putting either of them behind. Not even the 15-year-old is never going to get behind that machine.
I was responsible. I only ever ran over one bush.
Oh,
that's good.
Yeah,
that's nice.
Blue blood everywhere.
Blue blood. Yeah.
Well, those things are so huge. You just flattened it.
Yeah. So I have one kid, my firstborn. She's 21 Yeah, she'll be 22 soon. But 21, and honestly, she drives around Los Angeles, and I'm shocked every day there's not an accident. I mean, like Los Angeles. So I'm in the Bay Area today. I was in Washington State. People in Washington State are so nice. They're nice drivers. It's weird. Okay, like I
Yeah.
feel bad because I feel like I'm not as refined and as nice a person as all these people. So I try to be extra nice, you know. But like here in the Bay Area, people, oh, they're so bad at driving. Like
It's
I'm
true.
just like, oh, that one's gonna die soon. That one's gonna die soon. It's just like, what are you people doing?
It
Are you
took
drunk
me a
all the time?
year. It took me a year of living in Washington D.C. to get used to everybody driving like monsters, and then it
Oh,
took me a year.
monsters.
It took a year of being back in Michigan to realize, no, this is just like it's okay if there's 2 feet between you and the
Yeah,
car in front
yeah.
of you. That's
Yeah,
okay.
exactly. It's okay. It's okay. It's
It's
okay.
all right.
No, but like, I mean, I drove in DC too, as you know. It's like I used to drive into work, and that's when I swore I would never have a long commute again because driving a massive Buick LeSabre with unworking air conditioning
Eh.
in the summer on the Beltway, I was like, I was watching people literally and physically melt down around me. Like, I'm like, most powerful country in the world? I think not.
I
Like I'm
think
just
not.
watching all this stuff.
I feel
I'm like,
like we should switch the topic to this show to just vocational training, right? We just start talking
yeah,
about old jobs and stuff
Yeah,
and give
yeah, yeah,
advice.
yeah, man.
yeah.
For anyone who wants to get into the agricultural business, I
That's
can
right.
answer other questions
Yeah,
about blueberry
it's
picking.
true.
I have a
Um,
lot
Yeah,
of very strong
you know
opinions on how
those
you
things that shake the
properly pack a
tree.
bag of groceries.
yes, for like almonds and stuff. Yeah, those
Yeah.
things are awesome.
I was a bar back, and honestly, that was probably the most luxurious job I had as a teenager. No, seriously, I just carried, glassware and beer and cleaned up vomit after these Washington D.C. angry people got hammered at the bar. It was, I mean, you're like cleaning up vomit doesn't sound fun, but it's better than driving to D.C. an hour each way to go work, to pay to work at an internship. But yeah, that was a good job. Whatever happened to Fritzby's? It was this restaurant. It had a lot of personality. Back when, restaurants had lots of personality on the walls. It sort of pioneered flair before, Ruby Tuesdays and TJ Fridays did.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
did either of you watch the Marvels trailer?
I did, and I'm going to be controversial.
All right.
I kind of want to see it. It looks like fun,
I
you
did want to
know.
see it. That's not
I,
controversial at all. I thought it looked charming.
yeah, I mean, so many people are like, "Oh, Marvel's bad, Billy Relations, blah blah blah," and I'm like, you know what? You can just have fun sometimes, and this looks like it could be fun. And I like Monica Rambeau's character. Honestly, I think Brie Larson. I thought she was great ever since Scott Pilgrim. So I'm like, man, I'm in. Sure, why not?
Marvel makes great trailers, but they
They
haven't
do.
made a great movie in a while.
Well,
True,
even a little mediocre.
But
I haven't watched Quantum Mania yet. I just can't
true.
bring myself to do it.
I,
well,
I I watched 65 yesterday, which
yeah.
I know is not Marvel, but
So the dinosaurs in 65.
Mm.
Do those represent state of the art thinking on dinosaur research, or are those creative license?
Did
no,
they have lips?
like one of the pterosaurs looks sort of like a pterosaur I know about, except for it has, way too many teeth and a curved, weird mouth for some reason.
No lips.
And then the ones that run all fours uh resemble, I think it was called Deinosuchus. It's before the dinosaurs proper was, a big thing, but it like we're talking like more time between it and T-Rex than us and T-Rex,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So
Dinosaurs were around
uh
for like 150 million years. I mean,
longest time, and lots of other things that we kind of consider dinosaurs before that, right?
yeah.
So um
Uh, all right. I
also
wasn't sure.
like like what a shame. There are so many parts of that movie that could have
That could
made
have
it
been great.
so that it would have been great.
Yep.
The whole gist of him trying to deal with the idea of being, his job is to find a place where people can live, and his daughter is dying, but he has to do it, right? And then he meets this other girl, kind of becomes a surrogate daughter. It could be a
Mhm.
very powerful story, and it's complete nonsense. The whole thing is
Yeah.
the whole thing is just
Yep.
all right.
It's very dumb.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like I guess the arc inside that TV show. There's a couple of good
Yeah.
storylines. If they had just not staffed it exclusively with whoever was passing by the studio that at the time,
Right.
and had GPT write the script. It could have been all right.
So we
You know,
just rewatched District 9.
what a
And
movie,
and
man!
I'm
What a movie!
I like that again, it's a pretty darn simple premise, but perfectly executed. And like 65 could have been that, like it's a simple premise, just execute it well.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought they did fine. They just didn't do anything special.
Fine.
Chris, I shared this Seattle airport terminal story just for you.
Yeah,
I
yes.
assume you would have opinions or knowledge, but I just thought it was funny
Sure,
because they were
sure.
saying that there were a bunch of ideas of how they could fix it, but one of them was like tens of millions of dollars and required moving escalators.
So remember, this is the terminal that has the escalators going up, going across, big enough that any plane can roll taxi under this hallway. It's spectacular. Okay. So you land at the international terminal, you go through customs or whatever, then you go up the super escalator across this huge expanse and then back down. Right. So to give you an idea, this just opened like last year. And I was there like for one of the first couple flights that came back. And I remember I was going up the escalator. I was walking across the hallway and I did that thing where you stop and you look. And oh, this is really cool. And then I looked to the right and there was a ladder going from the ground to the level of the passage where some guy was
Oh,
able to reach something. And I'm like, that ladder is 60 feet tall. That's insane. They're not using a telehandler. They're not using like a scaffold. They're using a freaking ladder to get to this little panel or something. Um, but yeah, so I was like, what is going on here? So yeah, so they built it with 20 gates, and apparently only 16 are big enough for the 777s. And the problem is for the ones that border the non 16, it means you can't park even a 787 or something in those when you have a 777 in the big
gotcha.
ones, right? So
That's
so
the
everyone's
problem.
suing everybody.
I love it.
Well, you know, it's one of those things where SeaTac is probably the most congested airport on the West Coast. So we've been talking about opening a new one in Bremerton or expanding Everett, but SeaTac's full, man. It's just full, and so there's just no room. And like the traffic problems, the access problems, the stacking of planes, it's like we've hit the max. So what we gonna do? We can open up something in Bremerton. We can expand Everett. I guess we'll see.
Move to
You know.
Utah, man. I hear it's nice. They
Oh,
got
it's okay, but
they got a big lake there.
they're
It's
flooding
a
like
great lake.
crazy. So you know I go to Utah a lot for
I know
skiing.
you do.
And I was gonna go last week, but I was worried that I wouldn't get off the mountain in time to get to my kids' robotics competition, and I'd just be stranded in a hotel and not be able to ski. And I turned out to be not just a little right, but they only opened the canyon yesterday. I would have been trapped up the canyon, unable to ski for almost 2 weeks. And there were
At
some
least
days where they'd
you're
opened up
not
a
in
little
Fort
bit.
Lauderdale,
Oof. Well, that's
right?
the thing. The foothills
DeSantis said the
of
same thing.
well, yeah, he was in Iowa,
Yeah.
Ohio, right? And he's
Indiana.
like, whatever. I don't care what happens in
I'm
Fort
running for
Lauderdale.
president. I don't care about Florida.
Yeah, screw Florida. But like, yeah, the steps of the mountain in front of all the canyons, everyone's like sandbagging because the flooding's already started. Little Cottonwood Creek is just like already getting bursting. And in the 80s, when I lived in Utah, we had moved there for a bit with my family. They actually had to sandbag off Main Street and channel the water down Main Street to get it to the aquifer into the Great Salt Lake. It was amazing. They had to do it again in 96, and they're going to have to do it again this year. So building little temporary bridges. And they installed in 83, it was so bad, they installed these pumps from Lockheed. They're like 6 stories tall. And they're designed to pump water from basically to the side of the Great Salt Lake to the Great Salt Lake, kind of under I-80, because I-80 was covered, right? And so they built these monster pumps. We're talking like terraforming pumps from like Surviving Mars or one of these video games, right? And so then they ended up not using it for 15 years. And the drought came,
It's
all the
fine.
rest. I'm like, does
It's
this
fine.
even work anymore? I don't know.
It's fine.
But yeah.
All right.
Sorry, you got me off on a tangent.
I know. I made the mistake of mentioning Utah infrastructure.
Man.
So all
Yeah,
right,
but it will help the Great Salt Lake. It's already up a couple feet, but they need like 5 years of this kind of snowfall
Yeah,
to solve their poisonous sands problem. You know.
So the new NASA director was swore in on a copy of Carl Sagan's
Yeah, man,
Pale
that's
Blue
cool.
Dot, and let me just tell you, that's pretty badass.
Yeah, story is so nice you can link to it twice.
I did.
Yeah,
Mackenzie Listrip.
That's cool.
Yeah, I was trying to think of what I would swear in.
Monster Manual.
Yeah. Dune.
Yeah, I would think probably either Monster Manual or Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh,
that's
good.
Both hold us an important part in my life.
Yeah.
I remember reading that for the first time. I was like, oh, this can be funny and smart.
Yeah.
I get it now.
Yep.
I get it.
I'm not alone in the world.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is gonna make me.
But you're right. Probably Monster Manual.
But it has to be a book that you venerate and
Yep.
you know, the way that a hardcore Christian venerates the Bible. So is the Monster Manual that for you?
For Rob.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
I memorized
the original one, not like modern.
It's scripture.
I memorized.
Well,
I could tell you the counter numbers even.
Oh gosh, what's the Patterson and Hennessy book?
All right. Well, let's see. There's the Chinese probe that went to the moon and got back some regolith has discovered glass beads that they think are full of water.
Really? Like the 70s? Like a, you know?
Yeah, like the 70s. They're like, there's just terrarias on Mars, it turns out. Lizards, geckos, they're everywhere. But yeah, they don't know exactly how to, how much heat and everything would take to get it all out and like how much of it is. But hey, there might be more water than we thought.
Nice. That's really cool. I mean, they have a lot of glass on the planet. It's a problem. There was the Real Engineering video about the anti-static kind of nanotube cloth they had to put over the moon suits.
You have to chew on a lot of those microbeads to get hydrated, but it's a start, right?
Well, you could use them to exfoliate first.
Yeah.
And then
plus, I love chewing on glass, like just normally. Like it just makes me strong.
Yeah.
All right, so I posted the next story. This is the typewriter thing, just so I get to say things like printing balls. There's a story about how somebody made an old selectric.
They made a Comic Sans ball,
and you can 3D print your own Comic Sans ball. And I just think that's charming because now I get to say things like printing balls.
Well, I remember there was this long discussion of daisy wheels versus balls versus dot matrix, and people were like, "Dot matrix looks terrible."
It does.
A good daisy wheel, and I'm like, "Yeah," but those selectric balls, they make good type. Yeah. So speaking of which, Martine's book about keyboards, dating back to the beginning of keyboards, it looks like it's going to ship soon.
Did you kickstart that?
Before. Oh, I totally kickstarted that.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
Martine, he's a gem.
That's awesome.
Guy. So I wanted to support him. But
that's
yeah,
awesome.
I have no idea what's going on here. These are bad. It's like, what's going on with your balls here? But,
whoa. All right. We've got this is a weird one. There's a service for computer for swatting. You call a service really and it's like $75 and it uses then like digital voices and calls police departments and will SWAT, call the SWAT team to houses that you ask it to do. So they have like a plan. It's like $50 to shut down a school, things like that. Wow.
So back in middle school, we had.
You called it a bomb threat?
No, for 2 months, someone called in a bomb threat every Friday during last hour.
Wow.
And They were never able to figure out who it was. There were rumors about which kid it was, but no one was able to prove it.
And it was
But
you.
we got to get out of school the end of every week an hour early because this individual, God bless him, would call in a bomb threat. And,
Wow.
Nowadays, if that happened, that kid would get caught and that kid would go to jail.
yes,
Yeah.
back when I was in middle school, they were undoubtedly calling from the payphone at where you worked, Rob Balda.
That's
Because
right.
it was like a half mile for the high school, if
Yep.
Or
especially
they
if
were
you're taking
calling
a
from
back
the
trail on your
office.
bike.
Hey, I need to call my mom to pick me up. I'm not feeling so good.
Right.
I need to call the
Yeah.
office.
And in
Yeah.
1987, there's not a security camera.
Yeah.
Right.
Things were different.
Things were different back then.
But yeah, they're using synthesized voices. The article has a couple of samples. It's just crazy that thing. And I'm really thinking a lot about how Chat GPT and all of these things are good. Like you could build that system, install it in a Docker container, and run it in the cloud. You know what I mean?
You
Like
hear
that whole system soup to nuts. Pay in Bitcoin. Every time they shut you down, just spin it up somewhere else.
Hello. I just committed a crime and I want to confess.
You hear that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You did a crime and you want to confess?
I placed explosives in a
let 'em
local
loose.
school.
Yeah.
You did what?
I don't want to play that. But it's uncomfortable. But the voices, some of them you can tell apparently, but they said some of them sounded
Yeah.
like they might be real.
Like even though if you don't think that's real, if you're the responder,
you have to
you
do
have
it.
to take that seriously.
Yeah, you just have to.
So.
So we've got the Doom, we got the GPT running on the phone, which isn't as impressive as you think, because I think all the work is being done over that USB cable. But
No. So what happened was the LoRa weights from Facebook. Sorry, Meta. Their weights got leaked, and so a guy combined 400,000 prompts that he basically bought from the ChatGPT API with these weights, and he released them as a quantized combination, if I'm getting this right. And so now it's a 4 GB file that you can run with Llama CPP, which is a C++ version of the Llama, basically ChatGPT
so
interface.
that phone actually contains the whole model?
I think it's possible. I'm not sure. So, but
that
it
just
is
seemed
totally
really
possible.
unlikely to me.
No, because it's designed for CPU use, not GPU. So it would just be really slow. But yeah.
And in that demo, it is really slow. But no, a
Yeah,
4
so
gig
check it out.
model runs in the palm of your hand, man. It's going to be everywhere.
It's exciting.
It is.
Let me see if I can find.
I just wanted. Did either of you watch this week's episode of Picard?
I have not.
No. Did it have a Picard GPT?
No, but they basically did the most fan servicey two things that you could possibly do in an episode of Picard.
Do they summon the crystalline entity to fight the shapeshifters?
No.
Because that's the move, right?
That would have been nice, but no, it's not the crystalline entity. Do you want me to spoil it for you?
Yeah.
There are two things. First of all, the big bad is the Borg, and the Borg has infected all the humans. So, and like humans are infected, but the big fan servicey thing is they go back to the Enterprise D, which Geordi has repaired. And so they get to spend like a good 5 minutes walking around on the bridge of the Enterprise D, and it looks like they recreated the set, and they can all talk about their feelings, about how happy they are to be on the set of the greatest place that they ever lived.
Does Barclay is he even alive yet?
Is Barclay alive? I thought he was killed.
I don't remember.
Didn't he get killed by Alison Pill, or did she kill somebody else?
I don't remember what happened to Barclay. I don't remember anything from Barkley after Generations. Or no, not in Generations. In First Contact, I remember him like being all fanboy about Zefram Cochrane. That's the last thing I remember of him. The most popular card game in Picard is Blackjack. That's not a very good. Anyway, I'm not super excited about what they're going to do for the last 2-part episode, but they did that and then they made a new Enterprise. So now we have a new Enterprise and an old Enterprise, which are going to get to fight.
Okay.
I hope the last episode shows that they make a cyborg out of Tasha Yar too, or an android. I take it back.
She had a cameo in, or kind of a cameo in an episode back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Didn't she die?
Yeah.
In the show?
In season 1.
After making sweet, sweet love to Data?
But then she got to be a Romulan, and then she got to be like a mirror universe. And that's the thing is, if your character is popular and gets killed early and unceremoniously, you get to come back and like you get to be a hologram, and you get to be a mirror, a multiverse, and you get to be a Romulan. You get to be it all, really.
A thought-eating alien, all sorts of different plots.
You get a lot of choices. The last thing that we have on the list is apparently Chris's laptop. Did you want to talk about it?
So I needed so the problem is I do travel still, even though I was unceremoniously bounced from my previous employer.
You mean Alphabet?
Yes, Alphabet. That's right. Place I used to work. And so I've been experimenting with the Llama CPPs and the Llama GPUs and all the rest. And so I needed a laptop with more CUDA cores than the one I had. I had a 1650 laptop. But I have to tell you, I'm not going to carry around an 8-pound monster.
No, you're old now.
So,
you're old now.
Yeah.
You need your laptop to be like
old.
2-3 pounds.
Yeah, exactly. So the only sub 3-pound laptop with a 4070 is the absurd acronym.
The one that we made fun of like a week or 2 ago.
The one we made fun of, yeah. So I was like, oh, it's the only one that's small enough but powerful enough to do what I want.
So you have a laptop with the most filigree imaginable.
It is glorious.
Bring the picture up. Let's
honestly. Yeah, I'll bring a picture up. Unfortunately, I'm using that laptop to broadcast today.
Oh man, well, that's a
so I can't just show you this one until I get back to
until you get the link up.
Civilization. Share this tab. But yeah, it is absolutely absurd.
I'm in the process of building a NAS, and my case should arrive today, so I'm actually looking forward to having a build. But I realized right before this phone call, right before we started streaming, that I need to order SATA cables because I ordered 5 hard drives and I don't have any SATA cables. So I'm going to get these parts and I'm going to have to wait for SATA cables. And I don't know where I would even go to get 4 SATA cables right now.
So I think the visuals are playing havoc, but this keyboard is, it reminds me how often I touch type, let me just say. Because it's got alien symbols. Instead of the actual letters. It's got the actual letters too, but they're on the bottom right corner. So every once in a while, I'll be off by one, ASDF will be a SDF, whatever. So yeah.
They should make that.
I have a difficult relationship with this keyboard.
They should make it in Arabesh. The Star Wars font.
Yeah, but then they'd have to probably have some deal with Lucasfilm. Who wants that?
I don't know. The fonts are out there, and I don't know if you can trademark that, right?
Yeah, you can. That's very protectable, actually.
You think?
Fonts, I mean, historically, yeah, fonts have.
Well, but but it's a language, and it's not necessarily about the font. Like you could make your own font of the glyphs or of the, it seems like you should be able to legally do that.
So the question is, who wants to fight Disney in that lawsuit?
DeSantis.
Let's
have DeSantis go to war.
The man who hates Florida.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very anti-Disney.
Yeah.
Which is it's a weird hill to die on because in Florida,
it's irrelevant. It's a scam. He just knows that that's going to appeal to a certain demographic. He doesn't care.
I know.
Anyway.
It's not for the people in Orlando. It's for the people in Cleveland.
Exactly, for Indiana. Do we have anything else? Is there any media worth watching this weekend? There's something that... I think Renfield comes out this weekend.
Renfield, yeah. Dude.
I was hoping to get a
That's
chance to
cool.
see that, but my kid has already got like a birthday party where he's going to a movie, so I'm not going to be able to.
Mm.
And he wants to see Renfield, which I think is great.
That's awesome. Yeah,
We've
so
shown him
cool.
so many vampire movies, and we watch What We Do in the Shadows. That's our like evening family cool down show these days.
Yeah.
That's a great show.
There is important news about Fractured Veil. You know, we finally let go some of the put out some of the images that we're seeing in Unreal 5.1.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you got the email. It was pretty neat. It looked really good.
This is gonna sound dumb, but I'm gonna say it. It's weird to see it and like it looks like a real game now.
Yeah, it's really something.
That doesn't sound dumb because I think that constantly when I look at some of
Yeah.
the stuff we're putting
Yeah.
out now. I'm like, holy shit, I make this.
Yeah.
Like I work on this. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
You work on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really coming along. You know, I'm like, boy, trying to bring up the damn. Where's the picture? It's like on ImageSill. You guys are using, yeah.
It's just on there so you can see the before and afters. It's got a slider.
Yeah, I'll find it. Just give me a second. Or we can link it.
Yeah, we can link it. Let's lead the show next time. You can do. I would love
Okay, let's do that.
like a fanboy introduction to what's changed in the last 6 months because I haven't played it in 6 months, 9
Yeah.
months.
For sure.
And I think Rob has a hard stop. So let's say goodbye to Rob Roseboom.
Goodbye.
And let's say goodbye to Chris DeBona.
Goodbye.
You just listened to episode 783 of Geeks in Space. I was Rob Commander Taco Malda. And
The
we'll see
oldest.
you, the oldest podcast on the internet. We'll see you next time. Bye.